Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave! With a box of scraps!
So, it's finally finished. The G.A.A.D, as I'm calling it, Grapple Assisted Acention Device. It features a 36-volt battery pack taken off an electric scooter mounted in a modified backpack, a motor controller with a display, a 36-volt BLDC electric skateboard motor, a 20-to-1 ratio speed reducer, along with 1,000-pound paracord and a grappling hook. The switches seen on the side are to control the brake and forward and reverse. So, let's get into how I made it. I started this whole project with a drawing and an idea, with some inspiration from Built IRL and web shooter designs from Ben Rebuilt. Then, I made an extremely rough 3D model in Fusion 360. I then started building it by cutting the base of the gauntlet out of my table because I ran out of larger pieces of metal. Then I bent it into a trapezoid shape to surround my arm. Next, I cut the metal arms out of some thicker metal to make sure they wouldn't bend or break with my full weight. Unfortunately, they were too strong to bend without heat, so I had to throw them in the forge. Once they were up to temperature, I hammered and bent them into the correct shape. Next, it was time for the handle. The only thing Home Depot had that was large enough was 3/4 inch threaded rod, which I drilled and tapped to put screws into. Then I had to make an adapter that would attach the motor and spin the input of the reducer. This took a lot of trial and error and way too many iterations to find a way to 3D print a strong enough adapter. After that, it was time to attach the reducer and run a few tests to see what the motors could handle. So this is grappling hook motor test with 160 pounds. I mean, lifts it. Overall, the motors were able to handle my weight, and the tests were a success, aside from a few accidents and broken adapters. The next step was to add a wrap around the handle and a side grip. Unfortunately, with this design, it was not possible to do one-handed due to the device trying to rip your arm off. Now, it was time to mount the electronics. Sadly, my motor controller did not have a reverse function, but thankfully after some research, I found that if you switch 2 of the 3 wires on a BLDC motor, it will spin the other direction. So I wired them to a 6-pin switch and printed a mount. Afterward, I had to find a way to secure the battery and protect it. So I put some PVC pipe in a small oven and heated it till it was malleable. I then put the battery into a backpack and secured it with an old weightlifting belt so that it wouldn't move if I was upside down. Finally, it was time for the first test, which did not go to plan. Right, so this is the first official test. A good hook. Right. Motor struggled a little bit. Set it back up. Stand it. No, holy go. That's not good. I'm just gonna slow it down. Forward. I'm trying to touch myself. Great. So, after that disappointment, I found that the motor was under too much stress and heated up. So instead of making this project more expensive and ordering new ones, I sacrificed speed and returned the 15-to-1 speed reducer in favor of a 20-to-1. Once that arrived, I hooked it up and trimmed any loose wires and gave it one final test. It worked! I really couldn't believe it given my budget, which was just under $200. In total, this project has taken me over 50 hours, and even more if we're counting printing time. Although I didn't have the speed of grapple guns found in media, I'm still extremely proud of how it performed. I'm hoping to revisit this project and make a version 2 that launches the grapple and improves on the downsides of version 1. If you enjoyed watching the video, leave a like and subscribe to see future content.